Hello, everyone. Dear friends, life is like an endless flow, with twists that bring joy, but also challenges that test us. It is our excessive desires that cause suffering, but contentment brings happiness. By learning to let go, we find freedom and peace in our hearts. Cherish every moment, for time waits for no one. Each of the stories shared here is not only a lesson of wisdom but also a precious remedy to heal your life. Let's explore these 19 stories together, shall we? Story 1: Happiness in Simple Things. Once upon a time, there was a wealthy merchant who always felt unhappy. Despite having ample money and power, he could not find joy in his life. One day, he sought out a wise sage and asked, "Master, I have everything, yet my life feels empty. How can I find true happiness?" The sage smiled and replied, "I will teach you how to find happiness. But first, perform 3 things I will guide you on. The first task, walking in nature." The sage said, "Every morning, spend an hour walking in nature, paying attention to the sounds and scents around you." The merchant followed the advice. At first, he found it strange and unfamiliar. However, as he watched the sunrise and listened to the birds singing, he began to feel his soul lighten. The daily worries seemed to melt away. The second task, helping someone else. After a week, the merchant returned. The sage continued, "Now, help someone without expecting anything in return. It could be a poor person, someone in need of advice, or anyone facing difficulty." The merchant began to follow this advice. He gave clothes to the poor and helped a needy child attend school. Each time he helped, he realized that joy did not come from what he received, but from making others happy. The third task, write down things you're grateful for. A week later, the sage said to him, "Every night, before you go to sleep, write down 3 things from the day that you're grateful for. Do this every day for a month." The merchant began to write. At first, he only noted simple things, like thankful for a delicious meal or grateful for good health. But as he continued, he began to realize that his life was filled with countless things to appreciate, many of which he had never noticed before. After a month, the merchant returned and said to the sage, "Master, I no longer feel empty. I have found happiness in the small things, in helping others, and in gratitude. Thank you for showing me the way." The sage nodded. Happiness is not found in material wealth or power, but in the way we live each day. Always cherish what you have, and happiness will always be with you. Happiness does not come from grand things, but from the small, everyday moments, enjoying the present, helping others, and appreciating what we have. The second story, the 3 prescriptions of life. There was a wealthy man who suffered from a strange illness. He was always worried that he wouldn't live much longer, which led to constant anxiety and distress. After many unsuccessful attempts to find a cure, he decided to consult an elderly, reclusive doctor. After taking his pulse, the doctor said, "This illness can only be cured with one method. I will prescribe 3 prescriptions for you. Follow each step, and when one is completed, open the next prescription. There is no other remedy that can save you." Prescription 1. The wealthy man went home and immediately opened the first prescription. It read, "Go to a beach, lie on the sand for 30 minutes, and do this continuously for 21 days. At first, the wealthy man was skeptical but decided to follow the prescription. The result was surprising. Each time he lay on the sand, listening to the sound of the waves and the calls of seagulls, he felt more relaxed and at ease than ever before. For the first time in his life, he experienced a sense of comfort that had been taken away by his busy work. Prescription 2. On the 22nd day, he opened the second prescription. It read, "At the beach, find 5 small creatures such as fish, shrimp, or shellfish, and release them back into the sea. Do this continuously for 21 days. Although he initially didn't understand the meaning of this, he followed the prescription. Strangely enough, each time he saw the creatures being returned to the ocean, an indescribable sense of emotion arose within him. The happiness came from doing something small but meaningful, which made him appreciate life even more." Prescription 3. On the 43rd day, he opened the final prescription. It read, "Find a branch on the beach and write down all the grievances and resentments in your heart." The wealthy man followed the prescription. After writing the words in the sand, he sat and watched as the waves washed everything away. That sight awakened him. He realized that grievances and resentments are like the words written in the sand; they will disappear when we let go. From that moment, he felt his soul lighter, his body healthier, and even no longer feared death. The 3 prescriptions given by the renowned physician to the wealthy man were not typical remedies for illness, but rather ways to heal the soul. 1. Learn to rest, allowing the body and mind to relax. 2. Learn to return favor, to keep the heart peaceful and unburdened. 3. Learn to let go, to live freely, not controlled by desires or resentments. When greed and desires have no limits, people will remain in constant anxiety and suffering. But if we know how to find contentment and appreciate what we have, we will realize that we already possess the most valuable things in life. Story 3. There are 4 most difficult realms in life. Life is a long journey filled with all kinds of emotions: joy, sorrow, happiness, and even sorrow. However, maintaining a strong inner self and a peaceful spirit is not easy. Ancient wisdom has summarized the 4 most difficult realms in life, which serve as valuable lessons for self-cultivation. 1. Pain without complaining. This is a manifestation of inner resilience. When an eagle is injured, it doesn't cry out, but silently heals itself and then soars high in the sky again. But a rabbit, when in pain, screams, making it an easy target for predators. In life, when faced with pain, if we constantly complain, we miss the opportunity to grow and strengthen ourselves. Pain without complaining doesn't mean not feeling the pain, but rather having the courage to face, accept, and overcome it. It's when we flatten obstacles and withstand storms with a strong, optimistic inner spirit. After the storms, only then does the brilliant rainbow appear. 2. Smile without speaking. This is the state of expansiveness and freedom in the soul. In life, sometimes we encounter ridicule, misunderstandings, or injustice. If we rush to argue or explain, we only complicate things further and invite anxiety. Instead, it's better to keep a gentle smile on our face, letting the rights and wrongs of life pass naturally. A smile has a magical power. It can ease tension, resolve grievances, and warm distant hearts. A calm smile not only represents inner peace and tranquility, but also signifies a mature soul that is forgiving of the difficulties and misunderstandings in life. 3. Bewildered but not blinded. This is a proof of clear wisdom. In life, it's inevitable to be swept up by the current of emotions, sometimes leading us into confusion and losing our clarity. But a wise person knows how to keep their mind steady, not letting failures or the ups and downs cloud their judgment. The ancients taught us, sad, but not sorrowful. When sorrow strikes, it is a natural emotion, but remember that the heavens have their plan. When we have enough wisdom and inner strength, we will not let sadness pull us down, but instead find the light to overcome it. 4. Panicked but not chaotic. This is the stillness achieved through cultivation. Facing a major event without panic, confronting danger without losing composure, this is the highest realm of inner peace. In life, no one can avoid moments of injustice, misunderstandings, or great upheavals. But a person with self-cultivation will not lose their calm because of these challenges. Poise and calmness are the keys that help them handle situations thoughtfully, finding a way out amidst crises. When the mind is steady enough, we not only overcome difficulties but also transform challenges into opportunities for growth. These realms are not only lessons but also guiding principles for us to live better. Keep a strong heart, a clear mind, and a spirit of tolerance. One day, you will realize that the pain, misunderstandings, and injustices have vanished, leaving only a radiant smile on your face and peace in your soul. Story 4: The Secret of Luck. Everyone wishes for luck in life, but few know that luck is not a random occurrence. It always requires preparation. The story of 2 knights and the magical 4-leaf clover will reveal this secret to us. Once upon a time, in a distant kingdom, there was a wizard named Merlin, known for his profound wisdom and extraordinary magical powers. One day, Merlin announced, "In the next 7 days, a magical 4-leaf clover will appear in the enchanted forest. Whoever finds it will receive eternal luck." The news spread throughout the kingdom, and all the knights eagerly set out. But when Merlin revealed that the enchanted forest lay deep beyond the Valley of Forgotten Dreams, and that the arduous journey required crossing 12 steep hills, most knights hesitated. They were afraid to face the dangers of the dark, wild forest. Only 2 knights, Nod and Zit, dared to proceed. Both of them ventured into the forest, filled with countless trials, where sunlight could not penetrate the thick canopy, and the sounds of wild beasts echoed throughout. Knight Nod quickly lost heart. He heard the spirits in the forest whispering that no 4-leaf clover had ever grown here. Gradually, Nod lost faith and abandoned the search. In contrast, Knight Zit continued his journey. He not only searched for the 4-leaf clover but also made efforts to prepare for its appearance. He created a small fertile patch of land, cleared the waterway, and let the light shine through. Although he didn't know whether the 4-leaf clover would grow there, he believed that preparation would create an opportunity. On the 7th day, the wind god appeared. Powerful winds swept through the forest, bringing countless 4-leaf clover seeds that glittered like gold and scattered everywhere. But strangely, when the seeds fell on the dry ground, they vanished like snow under the sun. Only those seeds that fell on the fertile patch Zit had prepared began to sprout into the magical 4-leaf clovers. Knight Zit knelt down, moved to tears. The wind god spoke. "I do not bestow luck randomly. The 4-leaf clover only sprouts where it is prepared. Luck is fair to all. Everyone has the opportunity, but only those who are prepared can seize it." The story of Zit and Nat reminds us of the image of people who visit temples to pray for good luck, yet fail to prepare their hearts. Buddhism teaches that the human world is a realm of confusion, where people are easily led astray by desires and anger. Those who do not cultivate their hearts, leaving their inner gardens barren, cannot receive the seeds of enlightenment. But if, like Zit, one nurtures the soul with sincerity, kindness, and patience, then when the opportunity arrives, they will not miss it. Luck is not something that falls from the sky randomly. It is the result of preparation, effort, and the right mindset. Only those who care for their inner garden with wisdom and compassion can seize the opportunities of their life. Story 5: Who knows who we are? Why should we care? In modern society, the saying "who knows who we are? Why should we care?" has become an excuse for many people to justify unethical behavior or rule-breaking. However, in every situation, no matter who we are, there is always one person who knows all of our actions, ourselves. The story of the Sage's Challenge. Long ago, in a distant land, there lived a famous sage named Lao Tuong. One day, he assigned his students the special task. Each of you must find a way to steal a handful of rice from your home, but make sure no one sees you. After a week, the students returned with their handfuls of rice, except for a young student named Lu Van. When asked for the reason, Lu Van replied, "No matter how hard I tried to hide from everyone, I couldn't hide from myself. Every time I prepared to steal, I could see myself doing something wrong, so I couldn't carry out the task." Lao Tuong smiled with satisfaction and said, "That's right. You may be able to hide from others, but you cannot hide from yourself. When you do something wrong, your conscience will always be the clearest witness." Everyday stories, when excuses replace morality. Similar situations happen everywhere in modern life. One time, I stopped my vehicle at a red light, waiting patiently. A man riding a bicycle behind me urged, "Go on, kid. There's no police here." When I refused, explaining that I didn't want to break the law, he grumbled, "Who knows who you are? Why bother following the rules?" Another time, while standing in line to enter a ticket booth for a performance, a young couple with a child cut in front of the queue. The husband looked a bit embarrassed, but the wife quickly said, "No one knows us here, just get it over with." These statements may seem harmless, but they actually reflect a way of living that lacks responsibility, self-respect, and respect for the community. Story 6, Buddha's teaching, be grateful to those who treat you badly, for they are bearing your karma. No one likes being treated unfairly and often harbors resentment toward those who cause them harm. However, the principles of karma transcend ordinary human understanding. Instead of harboring hatred, learn to be grateful to such people, for they are helping you repay your karmic debts. During the Qing dynasty under Emperor Qianlong's reign, there lived a young man named Lu from a poor family. With elderly parents and no significant wealth, Lu lived a kind and patient life. However, his neighbor, a young man named Wang, was arrogant and came from a wealthy family. Wang often mocked and bullied Lu. In the village, a gentle and beautiful maiden named Chen admired Lu's kind-hearted nature and scholarly demeanor. But Wang used his family's influence to force the Chen family to marry their daughter to him. Though reluctant, Miss Chen had no choice but to obey her parents. Lu was heartbroken but accepted his fate and later married a kind peasant woman. Both families started small restaurants for their livelihoods. Lu's restaurant offered delicious food at affordable prices, but Wang used his power to sabotage Lu's business and draw customers to his own establishment. Despite this, Lu remained patient and told his wife, "We'll enjoy whatever blessings come our way. As long as we have enough to eat, that's enough." Both families had sons, and history seemed to repeat itself. Lu's son was bullied daily by Wang's son. When the boy complained, Lu gently advised, "I went through the same thing in the past and turned out fine. Be patient and don't hold a grudge." Years passed, and both children grew up with their parents' support for their education. When it came time for the imperial exams, Wang's son was sent off with a grand procession, including a palanquin and servants. Meanwhile, Lu's son had only a simple bundle and his parents' heartfelt encouragement. On the journey, a severe storm struck as they passed through the mountains, triggering a landslide. The palanquin carrying Wang's son was crushed by a boulder, and he tragically lost his life. Lu's son was also swept into a ravine but survived by clinging to the wreckage of the palanquin. He continued his journey and eventually passed the exams with top honors, earning his place on the Golden Honor Roll. When Wang heard of Lu's son's success, he was filled with resentment and mourned at his son's grave. That night, he dreamed of descending into the underworld, where he saw his son suffering in agony. His son said, "Father, I had to repay the karmic debt owed to the Lu family." The wrongs you and I committed against them caused us to bear their karma. My death was necessary to repay what they endured in their past lives. Please repent and live a good life, or the karmic burden will only grow heavier. Wang awoke with deep regret and from that day forward lived humbly, vowing never to mistreat or bully anyone again. Those who treat you poorly are, in reality, bearing your karma for you. Karma spares no one. Therefore, live with kindness, compassion, and forgiveness. Do not let greed or hatred drag you into the endless cycle of karmic retribution. Story 7. Take a step back to find happiness. Step back to see life's peace. The more people pursue, the easier it is to lose their sense of reason. Every hurried step can become the abyss of desire. The story below illustrates the power of stepping back to find peace and joy. In the United States, during an interview for mountain climbing candidates, over a dozen outstanding applicants made it to the final round after passing various skill and fitness tests. The interviewer presented them with a hypothetical situation. When you are climbing a mountain and are just a few steps away from the summit, but your companion is ahead of you, what would you do? Most of the candidates gave similar answers. I would try my best to overtake them and become the first to reach the top. However, the final candidate gave a different response. I would let my companion reach the summit first. That wouldn't diminish my joy at all. Hearing this, the interviewer smiled with satisfaction and congratulated the candidate. You've qualified to join the mountain climbing expedition. The interviewer, a veteran mountaineering coach, explained. At an altitude of thousands of meters, suddenly accelerating could endanger your life. I've witnessed many people lose their lives due to their relentless pursuit of fame and success. It's this intense desire that clouds their judgment and reason in complex situations, leading to tragic consequences. Education and desire. A teacher once posed a similar question to their students. Most of them responded, I would try my best to be the first. This reflects an education system overly focused on achievement, fostering a competitive mindset in children from a young age. Adults are no exception. They are consumed by envy and the pursuit of fame and wealth, constantly comparing themselves to others. Living in a luxurious mansion, they still feel frustrated when the neighbor's house is taller. This vicious cycle of ambition turns society into a rat race where people oppress one another, living in suffocating environments while mistakenly believing this is normal. Happiness from a serene heart. Life is not about taking someone else's place, but about becoming a better version of yourself each day. True happiness comes from letting go of desires, living for others, and maintaining a peaceful soul. Children are born inherently kind, free from competition and desires. We come into this world with pure hearts and tranquil minds. Happiness does not lie in fame or wealth, but in the serenity of the soul. Step back to see life's peace. When we let go of envy and jealousy, our hearts open to forgiveness, compassion, and tolerance. As the saying goes, endure one step, the waves calm and the sea quiets. Step back one step, the ocean broadens and the sky opens wide. Thus, learn to take a step back to discover true happiness. Life is not a race to claim the number one spot, but a journey to find inner peace and joy in the simple things around us. Story 8. Do good and accumulate virtue, and heaven will bestow the best upon you. Sometimes, a small act like a smile, lending a hand, or offering words of encouragement can warm someone's heart and help them overcome hardships. Doing good and accumulating virtue always bring blessings, an unchanging law of the universe. A story from the Song Dynasty. During the Song Dynasty, criminals were exiled to Salman Island, where strict laws dictated that the population on the island could not exceed 300. The small island only had enough resources to support that number. Any excess prisoners were to be thrown into the sea. The warden of Salmon Island, Li Khan, had drowned up to 700 people in the sea. When Ma Mac became the magistrate of Dangzhou, modern-day Penglai, Shandong, he was appalled by such cruelty and resolved to make a change. Ma Mac submitted a petition to the emperor, proposing that instead of drowning the excess prisoners, the old ones should be released and allowed to fend for themselves. The emperor agreed and issued an order to change the rules. Thanks to this, many prisoners were spared from unjust deaths. Although Ma Mac was childless at the time, one night he dreamed of a messenger from the Jade Emperor who told him he would have a son and a daughter as a reward for saving many lives. True to the prophecy, his wife later gave birth to 2 children, demonstrating the immediate blessings that come from doing good and accumulating virtue. A story from the Ming Dynasty. During the reign of Emperor Min on Tong, a notorious bandit named Dang Mao that rose up in the Fujian region, rallying many followers. The emperor tasked Chief Inspector Zhang Jiang with capturing and eliminating the bandit. Zhang Jiang succeeded in capturing Mao that and delegated the handling of the remaining bandits to Xie Du Su, the provincial administration commissioner of Fujian. Unlike others, Xie Du Su did not kill indiscriminately. Instead, he quietly helped innocent civilians. He gave them white cloth flags to hang in front of their houses as a sign to prove they had no connection to the rebels. Thanks to this humane approach, over 10,000 people were spared from wrongful deaths. Xie Du Su's compassion was witnessed by the heavens. His son, Xie Tian, passed the imperial examination as the top scholar and later became the prime minister. His grandson, Xie Fai, also passed as the third-ranking scholar in the same examination. This is a true testament to the saying, "A family that accumulates good deeds will surely enjoy lasting blessings." Many people wonder if good deeds are always rewarded, especially when in life, good people often seem to suffer losses. In truth, universal justice never errs. Every good or evil action is recorded, and retribution will come at the right time, it's just that we may not perceive it. A Zen master once said, "Helping others is good, acting solely for self-interest is evil." Even words that seem respectful but stem from selfishness are evil. Conversely, words that may appear harsh but come from good intentions are still considered good. Story 9. A life's blessings spent, disaster strikes. Blessings are earned through good deeds, but if they are completely used up without continuing to do good, misfortune will surely follow. The story below clearly illustrates this truth. Long ago, in a certain region, there were 2 close friends. One of them had been a vegetarian and devoted to chanting Buddha's name for many years. However, despite his piety, his life remained impoverished, and he frequently fell ill. Frustrated, he blurted out, "Being a vegetarian and chanting Buddha's name doesn't work at all." Hearing this, his friend jokingly replied, "If you think being a vegetarian and chanting Buddha's name doesn't work, then sell your blessings to me." Believing his friend was serious, the vegetarian agreed. They wrote up a receipt, and the vegetarian received a substantial amount of money from his friend. The receipt was handed over as if the transaction had been finalized. That very night, the vegetarian dreamed of a demon who came to him and said, "Your blessings have been sold. In 1 month, your life will end." Terrified upon waking, he hurried to find his friend to ask for the receipt back. However, to his dismay, the friend had already burned it. True to the demon's words, the vegetarian passed away exactly 1 month later. The consequences of squandering blessings. Those who possess blessings but fail to preserve them, or exhaust their blessings without continuing to do good, will inevitably face consequences. The law of cause and effect spares no one, and human life often falls into one of three scenarios. Enjoying all blessings before receiving retribution. If blessings have not yet run out, a person may continue to enjoy a prosperous and smooth life. However, when their blessings are depleted, retribution will arrive. Outsiders often mistakenly believe that such individuals evade karmic consequences, but in reality, the time for their reckoning simply hasn't come yet. Great blessings, minor retribution. If someone performed great acts of kindness in a previous life, they accumulate immense blessings. Even if they commit wrongdoings in this life, the negative retribution will be like a small grain of sand in the desert. They may still live a smooth and prosperous life, but once their blessings are exhausted, retribution will manifest in their next life. Depleted blessings, ripened retribution. When blessings are nearly depleted and accumulated wrongdoings have reached their peak, retribution arrives immediately. At this point, their life becomes tragic, marked by illness, accidents, or sudden death. Enjoying blessings is fortunate, but the greater wisdom lies in continuing to do good so blessings do not run out. Do not wait until retribution arrives to regret, as by then it will be too late. Blessings are an invisible treasure, accumulated only through a life of kindness and compassion. Story 10. The greatest virtue in life is forgiveness. In this world, the majority of things rarely go as planned. Life seldom grants anyone complete fulfillment. When faced with unpleasant situations, how we choose to respond determines our happiness and inner peace. The story of the orchid and the wise monk. In an ancient temple, there lived a senior monk who loved growing orchids. He devoted great care to tending his plants, especially a precious orchid that bloomed with vibrant golden flowers, as delicate and graceful as a dancing maiden. One day, the monk needed to descend the mountain to visit some friends. He entrusted the care of his beloved orchid to a young monk in the temple, instructing him to be careful. On the second day, as usual, the young monk watered the orchid and placed it on the windowsill. Unexpectedly, a fierce storm swept through, knocking the pot to the ground. It shattered, and the fragile petals were torn apart by the wind and rain. Terrified and filled with guilt, the young monk didn't know how to face the senior monk. When the elder returned, the young monk sorrowfully approached him to apologize, prepared to accept any punishment. To his surprise, the senior monk simply smiled gently and said, "I didn't grow the orchid to get angry." This seemingly simple statement revealed a heart as vast and forgiving as the ocean. We grow flowers not to harbor anger, just as we live not to hold on to hatred. Carrying resentment makes everything around us negative and burdensome. But with forgiveness, even in challenging and unfavorable situations, we find peace and comfort. If we choose hatred, life will be filled with complaints. If we choose forgiveness, life will overflow with joy and serenity. Forgiveness is not only about releasing others from the weight of their mistakes, but also about freeing ourselves from the burdens of anger and resentment. The secret to 50 years of marital happiness. A couple who had been happily married for 50 years celebrated their anniversary surrounded by family and friends. When asked about the secret to their enduring happiness, the wife shared, "From the day we got married, I made a list of 10 flaws my husband had, and I told myself that whenever he committed one of those mistakes, I would forgive him completely to preserve our home." Curious, a guest asked, "What were those specific flaws?" The wife smiled and replied, "Actually, I never listed them. Whenever he did something that upset me, I would just think, this must be one of the 10 flaws I promised to forgive." Tolerance is a virtue. Forgiveness is not a sign of weakness, but a reflection of empathy and understanding. Those who practice tolerance not only ease conflicts, but also bring peace to their own lives. Tolerance is not for others, it is for yourself. A tolerant person will find their path in life smoother and their heart more serene. They do not focus on the faults of others but view the world with compassion. Through their eyes, everything becomes calmer and more peaceful. Forgiveness does not harm you, it only makes your life more beautiful. Story 11. The monk troubled by desire, enlightened by impermanence. Desire is not a violent storm, but it has the power to drown even the greatest of heroes. For those on the spiritual path, overcoming desire is one of the most perilous challenges necessary to advance on the journey of enlightenment. Long ago, a young monk was traveling to the city of Savatthi for alms. During his journey, he encountered a beautiful maiden whose appearance captivated him. Over time, his admiration turned into infatuation, and he became consumed by longing. Day by day, he grew weaker, eventually falling ill and bedridden. He neither ate nor drank, sinking into the misery of unrequited desire. His fellow monks, deeply concerned, tried to console and advise him, but their words could not awaken him. Helpless, they decided to bring the matter to the Buddha. Upon hearing the story, the Buddha did not scold the young monk. Instead, he gently said, "There is no need for you to grieve like this. Rest and eat well. I will help you fulfill your wish." Hearing this, the young monk felt relief and joy. He ate heartily and accompanied the Buddha and his disciples to the city of Savatthi. When they arrived, they were met with the sound of wailing coming from the maiden's home. Upon inquiry, they learned that she had passed away 3 days prior. Her grieving parents had delayed her burial, and her body had already begun to decay and emit a foul odor. The Buddha turned to the young monk and said, "You were captivated by her beauty, but now look at her present state. Understand that all things in this world are impermanent, arising and passing away in the blink of an eye. Clinging to external beauty will only bring suffering. A wise person seizes the moment to let go of desires and extinguish afflictions. Indulging in desire is like imprisoning oneself in a cage." The Buddha's words jolted the young monk into realization. He bowed deeply in remorse and expressed his heartfelt repentance. Returning to the monastery, he dedicated himself to diligent practice and ultimately attained enlightenment. For those on the spiritual path, desire is one of the greatest obstacles. The Buddha once said, "In the human world, the greatest affliction is desire. The most dangerous thing is also desire. Desire not only clouds the mind but also leads to suffering and tragedy. A person consumed by desire is like one drinking salt water. The more they drink, the thirstier they become. It destroys individuals, tears families apart, and leaves a trail of consequences in its wake." The Buddha likened those who are obsessed with desire to someone holding a torch against the wind. They are bound to burn their hands. Only by overcoming temptation can one live peacefully, free from the chains of desire, and draw closer to enlightenment. Story 12. Without upholding virtue, one cannot receive the blessings of ancestors. If a person does not cherish virtue, no matter how much merit their ancestors accumulated, the blessings will dissipate. The following story from the Qing dynasty clearly illustrates this. During the Qing dynasty, there was a boy born into an aristocratic family. From a young age, he was betrothed to a girl from a noble family. His family was renowned for their kindness, always helping the poor. His father was a compassionate man, willing to spend generously to aid the people. When the boy was 10 years old, a terrible famine struck. His father used most of the family's wealth to provide famine relief. Soon, the family fell into poverty, owning only a small house. After his father's death, the boy and his mother lived in hardship, but he did not give up his dream of studying diligently to bring honor to his family. When the young man reached marriageable age, his mother had to borrow a large sum of money to arrange the wedding with the girl he was betrothed to since childhood. However, the girl's family, now wealthier, did not want to marry their daughter to a poor man. To avoid scandal, they devised a plan to replace the bride with a maidservant. Unaware of this, the young man joyfully married the woman he believed was his fiancée. Fortunately, the maidservant was virtuous and gentle. The couple lived harmoniously and happily. A few years later, the young man happened to overhear mocking remarks from townspeople about him marrying a servant. Returning home to ask his wife, she confessed the truth. He felt insulted, lost face, and his self-esteem was hurt. From then on, he became despondent and lost interest in studying. He began to think about divorcing his wife to marry a noblewoman to restore his honor. One night, he dreamed of returning to the celestial realm, where two fairy maidens were once embroidering a scholar's robe for him. But this time, they were no longer cheerful. His name on the robe was unstitched and unrecognizable. He pleaded with the fairies for an explanation, and one said, "A man who abandons his wife for vanity is unworthy of continuing to receive blessings, no matter how much virtue his ancestors accumulated." Startled awake, he regretted his impulsive thoughts. He resolved to correct his mistake and promised to remain faithful to his wife. Later, the scholar achieved glory, passing the imperial examinations with high honors and becoming a high-ranking official in the court. By upholding virtue, his career flourished, his family was harmonious, and he lived in the blessings left by his ancestors. Blessings come from virtue. If descendants do not preserve it and indulge themselves, then no matter how much virtue the ancestors accumulated, good fortune will dissipate. But as long as one lives rightly and upholds virtue, blessings will always accompany them. Deep virtue brings profound blessings. As long as you uphold morality, blessings will never leave you. Story 13. Where does one's blessing come from? Blessings in life do not arise from talent, education, or luck. They are the result of good deeds and kindness. The following story from the Qing dynasty demonstrates this timeless truth. During Emperor Qianlong's reign in the Qing dynasty, a scholar named Lu Qindin lived in the city of Yangzhou. Though modest about his abilities, he was well versed in classical texts. His family was once wealthy, thanks to his grandfather, Lu Nuakim, a philanthropist known for his compassion and generosity toward the poor. At the age of 19, Lu Qindin set off to take the imperial examinations in the capital, carrying the hope of bringing glory to his family. During his journey, he and his servant stayed at a temple about 300 miles from the capital. That evening, unable to sleep, Lu Qindin heard the sound of a flute outside his window. He stepped out to find a young scholar, Tan Koi Van, playing the flute under the moonlight. The music, otherworldly and serene, moved Lu Qindin deeply, and they quickly became friends. Upon reaching the capital, the two shared academic experiences and sat for the provincial examinations. Lu Qindin was assigned to room 9, while Tan Koi Van was placed in room 27. The exam started smoothly for Lu Qindin, and his responses were eloquent and insightful. However, a challenging couplet appeared at the end of the exam. Black charcoal, red fire, ash like snow. This puzzle had stumped even court officials, and now it was a test for the examinees. Even Tan Koi Van, despite his brilliance, could not think of a matching line. Lu Qindin wrestled with it for hours before exhaustion overcame him, and he fell asleep. In his dream, an elderly man with white hair appeared and pointed out areas in his essay that needed refinement. When Lu Qindin asked about the couplet, the old man smiled and asked, "What does your family plant in autumn?" "Barley," Lu Qindin replied. "And what color is barley?" What about the chaff and the flour ground from it? Hearing this, Lu Kin Din awoke with a start. He immediately wrote down the answer. Golden barley, red chaff, flour like frost. When the exams concluded, Lu Kin Din's paper impressed the chief examiner. Emperor Qianlong himself reviewed the submissions and was particularly struck by Lu Kin Din's poetic and profound couplet, which seemed divinely inspired. Although Tan Koi Van's knowledge was superior, the emperor selected Lu Kin Din as the top scholar due to the extraordinary impression of his couplet. Returning home, Lu Kin Din reflected on the dream. He realized that the old man's name, Lang Wai Lai, was a homophone for to leave a blade uncut. This referred to his grandfather's long-standing practice of instructing workers to spare one blade when plowing near an unmarked grave on their land. Years earlier, Lu Nuoc Kim had discovered the grave of a poor scholar buried in his field. Instead of disturbing it, he ordered his workers to care for the site and even honor it with offerings. His selfless actions planted the seeds of blessings that flourished in his grandson's success. Blessings do not come from talent or luck, but from kindness and virtue. As the ancients said, those who do good may not immediately receive blessings, but misfortune will be far from them. Those who do evil may not face retribution right away, but their blessings will surely depart. By performing good deeds, one ensures that blessings will abound and calamities will naturally avoid them. Story 14. The blessing of a single incense stick. Buddhism teaches that sincerity is not only reflected in words of prayer or outward actions, but also in the true intentions of one's heart. Sometimes, a lifetime of prayers remains unanswered because we are missing one crucial incense stick of filial piety. Once, a young man went to a temple, lit 3 incense sticks, knelt before the Buddha statue, and prayed. May the Buddha bless me to pass the imperial examination and bring honor to my family. After his prayer, he bowed 3 times and left. Nearby, a novice monk curiously asked his master, "Master, will the Buddha answer this man's prayer?" The elderly monk shook his head and replied, "He is missing 1 incense stick." 10 years passed, and the young man had become a valiant young general, celebrated for his victories on the battlefield. This time, he returned to his hometown to seek a wife. Once again, he went to the temple, lit 3 incense sticks, and sincerely prayed, "May the Buddha bless me to find a good match and enjoy a lifetime of happiness." The novice monk, still by his master's side, asked again, "Master, will the Buddha answer this prayer now?" The elderly monk smiled and replied as before, "Unfortunately, 1 incense stick is still missing." Another 10 years passed. Now a middle-aged official, the once proud general bore the marks of life's trials on his face. Though his family was harmonious, he had been demoted due to the troubles of his in-laws, leaving his grand ambitions unfulfilled. He climbed to the temple once more, lit 3 incense sticks, and prayed, "May the Buddha bless my children to pass the imperial exams and fulfill the dreams I could not." The novice monk, now grown, stood silently beside his aging master. The elderly monk sighed and said, "Still, 1 incense stick is missing." Many more years passed. The official was now an old man, his hair streaked with silver. This time, he no longer sought fame or fortune. He quietly went to the temple, lit 3 incense sticks, and prayed, "Dear Buddha, I have prayed many times in my life, but have never heard your reply. This time, I asked for only one thing. Please let my mother live in peace and enjoy her old age. I ask for nothing more." Now an elder monk himself, the once novice stood beside his frail master. The elderly monk smiled warmly and nodded. The Buddha has heard him this time. When the old man returned home, he received joyful news. His two sons had passed the imperial exams, ranking first and second. Moreover, the emperor had issued a decree clearing his name, reinstating him to his previous position and promoting him 3 ranks higher. However, the old man declined all offers, choosing instead to stay by his mother's side, caring for her until her final days. Throughout life, we often pray for ourselves without realizing what we lack is the filial piety owed to our parents. Among all virtues, filial piety ranks first. A sincere heart of devotion to one's parents can move heaven and earth, bringing immeasurable blessings. Before seeking blessings for yourself, light an incense stick for your parents and pray for their peace and well-being. Only then will the path to your own blessings unfold. Story 15. Why should we accumulate blessings instead of wealth? In life, accumulating blessings is more important than accumulating wealth. Blessings are eternal and follow a person wherever they go, while money is external and will eventually be lost. Princess Tian Kuang and the Lesson of Blessings. During the time of the Buddha, King Pasenadi had a daughter named Princess Tian Kuang, renowned for her beauty and virtue. She was deeply loved by the people. Proud of his daughter, King Pasenadi said, "You are admired because I am the king." But the princess replied, "Father, this is due to my own karma and blessings, not because you are the king." The king asked her the same question 3 times, and each time, she gave the same answer. Angered, the king decided to marry her to a poor man to prove who was right. After the marriage, the princess and her husband worked diligently. In no time, they became wealthy and respected by many. This left King Pasenadi astonished. He approached the Buddha to seek an explanation. The Buddha explained, Princess Tian Kuang, in her past life during the time of Buddha Kassapa, was devoted to offering food to monks. Because of this, she has accumulated blessings and enjoys a life of wealth and respect in this life. Her husband, on the other hand, opposed her charitable acts in his past life, leading to his poverty in this one. However, because he eventually consented to her good deeds, he now shares in her blessings after marrying her. Hearing this, King Pasenadi realized that those with blessings bring prosperity not only to themselves but also to their families. The Buddha taught, money can be taken away by others, but blessings cannot be stolen. A person with blessings finds success and ease in whatever they do. In contrast, a person without blessings may struggle to achieve greatness, no matter their talent. Parents often wish to leave material wealth for their children but fail to realize that blessings are far more important. As the ancients said, children with blessings will succeed even without wealth. Children without blessings will squander any wealth left for them. Blessings are an invaluable asset that accompanies a person throughout their life. By accumulating blessings through good deeds, all other things, wealth, fame, and success, will come naturally and sustainably. Story 16. A leopard cannot change its spots, but kindness can transform hearts. The ancients often taught that a true gentleman always treats others with kindness, studies righteous teachings, acts justly, and helps others realize that living according to divine principles and moral integrity brings peace and prosperity. The example of Tu Lo. During the spring and autumn period, when Tu Lo first met Kong Tu, he dressed extravagantly and carried himself with arrogance. However, after listening to Kong Tu teach about the virtue of humility, Tu Lo immediately recognized his faults. He changed into modest attire and joined others in studying rituals and music. Kong Tu taught, a gentleman values righteousness over profit. Courage without righteousness leads to chaos, and a petty man with courage but no righteousness becomes a thief. Under Kong Tu's guidance, Tu Lo continuously refined his morals and beliefs, becoming someone who deeply trusted and upheld righteousness. When appointed as an official, Tu Lo governed his people through rituals and music, transforming the county of Bo Ap into a peaceful and prosperous place to live. Ngu Tian kenned the violent man who turned over a new leaf. During the Ming Dynasty, there was a man named Ngu Tian Ken in Shaanxi, renowned for his martial arts skills but infamous for his violent temper. He often attacked people without reason and took things without returning them, causing everyone to fear him. One day, Ngu Tian Ken climbed to a rooftop to enjoy the breeze. Upon seeing him, the townspeople immediately fled in fear. However, an elderly man stood his ground, showing no sign of fear. Angered, Ngu Tian Ken shouted, "Aren't you afraid of me? Don't you know how deadly my martial arts are?" The old man calmly replied, "Your parents raised you with the hope that you would become someone who contributes to the country. But you've used your skills for evil deeds. What a pity. The nation has lost a talent, and you've lost yourself." These words struck Ngu Tian Ken like a bell of awakening. Overcome with emotion, he wept and said, "I've done so much wrong. Can I ever become a good person again?" The old man replied, "As long as you repent, abandon your wrongdoings, and dedicate yourself to doing good, nothing is impossible." From that day forward, Ngu Tian Ken completely transformed. He devoted himself to acts of kindness and serving the nation. Later, he was appointed vice-marshal, treating the people as if they were his own children, earning widespread admiration and praise. The value of moral education. The ancients taught, everyone makes mistakes, but correcting those mistakes is an act of goodness. Teaching through kindness possesses immense power, capable of deeply transforming hearts. It guides individuals back to truth, restores their innate nature and conscience, encourages virtuous actions, and eradicates wrongdoing. Only kindness has the strength to touch and change people's hearts. Though it is said that the leopard cannot change its spots, if one can awaken the goodness within, people can change and become better. Story 17. The ancients taught do good and accumulate virtue, but how can goodness truly build virtue? Doing good to accumulate virtue is widely understood, but if good deeds are performed with impure intentions, the result can be entirely the opposite. The lesson from a Zen master. One day, a group of scholars visited a Zen master, asking him to teach them about good and evil. The master asked each of them to provide an example. One scholar said, "Yelling at and hitting people is evil, showing respect and courtesy is good." The Zen master replied, "Not necessarily." Another scholar said, "Greedily taking others' possessions is evil, maintaining honesty and integrity is good." The Zen master again replied, "Not necessarily." Each scholar offered different examples, but the master shook his head every time. Finally, the master calmly explained, "Helping others is called good, acting selfishly for one's own benefit is called evil. If you help others, even scolding or hitting them can be considered good. On the other hand, if your actions only serve your own interests, even showing respect can be considered evil. A kind heart matters more than actions. True kindness comes from a sincere heart. If good deeds are done superficially or for show, they are merely acts of false virtue. Without a kind heart, even using wealth to help thousands carries no real meaning. Conversely, with a truly kind heart, even a simple smile or a gentle handshake is enough to accumulate virtue. Performing good deeds with the expectation of reward is self-serving and not truly virtuous. Only when good is done quietly, without seeking recognition or personal gain, can it genuinely accumulate hidden virtue. The story of the Yang family. During the Ming Dynasty, the Yang family in Jianning, Fujian, worked as ferrymen. One year, heavy rains caused severe flooding, sweeping away people and possessions. While other ferrymen salvaged valuables, Yang Vin's great-grandfather and grandfather focused solely on rescuing people, disregarding material wealth. The villagers mocked them as fools, but they persevered in saving lives. One day, a Taoist priest visited Yang Vin's father and said, "Your ancestors have accumulated immense hidden virtue. Their descendants will achieve great positions and wealth." Following the priest's guidance, the Yang family buried their ancestors in a special location. In time, Yang Vin passed the imperial examination as a scholar and rose to the prestigious rank of Tam Tsong, one of the highest government positions. The emperor even posthumously conferred titles of honor upon his great-grandfather, grandfather, and father. Kindness is the root of virtuous deeds. The Buddha looks at one's heart. Only when actions stem from a pure heart are they acknowledged by the divine and bear fruitful rewards. True kindness means doing good quietly, without seeking recognition or gain. Acting sincerely, without ostentation or self-promotion. Story 18. The principle of the virtuous, better to be deceived than to deceive. A kind-hearted person always thinks of others, willing to suffer losses rather than harm someone else. According to the law of karma, those who act virtuously will ultimately receive the blessings they deserve. A question of choice. If you discovered that you had been tricked into buying a defective item, what would you do? Try to resell it to recover some of your loss? Accept the loss and refuse to deceive others? If you chose the second option, congratulations. You have accumulated great virtue. The story of Dao Tuong. During the Song dynasty, there was a man named Dao Tuong, the owner of a fabric dyeing shop. One day, a merchant sold him a batch of purple dye plants that appeared to be of high quality. Dao Tuong purchased them for 4 million coins. A few days later, a knowledgeable customer came to his shop and remarked, "This is poor quality dye and cannot be used." Dao Tuong tested the plants and realized that the customer was right, the dye was unusable. Though he knew he had been deceived, he refused to resell the dye to others. Instead, he decided to burn the entire batch. He said, "I was deceived, but I cannot deceive others. I must do what is right, even if it means taking a loss." Despite this significant financial setback, Dao Tuong did not regret his decision. His honesty and kindness earned him the trust of others, and over time, his business flourished. His family became wealthy, and his descendants enjoyed generations of prosperity and honor. Kindness not only brings peace of mind, but also yields long-lasting blessings. In ancient times, there was a man who lived a virtuous life and accumulated immense blessings. Before he passed away, he told his children, "Always remember these 4 words, learn to endure losses." He wanted his descendants to understand. Enduring losses is a form of fortune. Suffering hardships is a way to accumulate blessings for the future. In life, accepting temporary losses can be a means of building lasting virtue. What we experience today is the result of our past thoughts and actions. Similarly, our future will be shaped by the intentions and deeds we perform today. Always live with kindness and integrity, for the universe does not overlook even the smallest act of goodness. Thank you for taking the time to watch our video. We wish you peace, happiness, and lots of luck in life. Goodbye, and see you in our next videos.